We're up to Y in the economics series, and it's the letter Y. And so I will explain in this video some whys, why this has happened, why we are where we are, why. So the first is, Nick the Modern Mystic did a video where, again, he's sort of comfortable with this description of the reality that this is sort of an impossible thing in the economic system, and I don't know. It's not pointed at all, in my opinion. It doesn't identify the problem, and it doesn't identify the solution, and they both exist. I'll say flat out, whatever crisis we get into, we didn't have to get into it. Okay, we didn't have to happen, because it's all created by one small segment of the population. All right, whatever crisis is imposed on us, it will be imposed on us by the 5%, the top 5%, the richest people in the world. It's their money they're playing with. Obviously, it's our money in that we have a stake in the value of money, but they're the ones that have ruined it. Okay, they're the ones that haven't paid their income taxes. 50%, 40 something percent of all income taxes are paid by the top 2% or 1% of people in the country, the richest people in the world. And they deferred their taxes. They deferred them to some anemic future in the, that they, there's no other scenario. You can't build up this debt and say there's any way to ever pay it back. Because every time the economy booms, they say, well, it's time to cut taxes. Everything's doing great, so let's cut taxes instead of pay the bills. And it happens every damn time. So they knew what we were going to... There's nothing but disaster spelled here. There's no way to pay this money back without destroying the economy. You have to pay back $11 trillion. You have to completely devalue money to do that. Even if you did it over a 10-year period or a 20-year period, you're talking about no growth in the economy for 2 decades. So it's impossible. It's unsustainable. It's a brick wall, and we built it, and then we drove into it, and we did it because we have some sacred regard for this top 5%. This trap that humanity has always existed in. They have always been the problem. Consolidation of wealth has been the problem with the destruction and the ruin of civilization throughout our history. That is the problem. And we just keep walking right into it. We keep falling into the same trap because people are by nature little greedy, selfish bastards. And they don't want to create a fair fight. They want to create a fight they think they can manipulate, a game they can play to their advantage. They're all looking for an angle. We see it in the real world. I'll bring this up later, but we see what people do. I mean, they sit there and we end up with, the top revenue source, one of the second highest revenue source in the state of New Jersey, over next to cigarette taxes, I think, is the state lottery. It's a bogus way of financing anything. It's completely insane, but people buy into it. They buy into the delusion of it. And that's basically what our economics is. We created a lottery system. It's not a system that makes any sense. And it was even the more idiotic, preposterous nature of the lottery was that we were giving out the winnings without obliging people to buy the tickets. Alright, so people always talking about these standards. I came up in Nick's video. In the monetary system and all that stuff. And standards are stupid. Look, we know how money started. Money started as a real commodity. A commodity you could carry with you. So it started off with maybe salt. And so you could carry salt with you. Salt was basically stored surplus. Okay, it had value because it had to be extracted, it had to be moved, it had to be carried, and it was used by people. And so it had real value. It had to be, the supply always had to be replenished, and it was just a convenient way of trading a real surplus. We were trading real surpluses. I give you salt, you give me grain. We were monetizing real commodities. And then we moved to coins, and though that kind of system worked, but to a point. I mean, you hear the word piece of eight because guess what? Yeah, money was scraped and filed and broken, and all kinds of games were played with money. I mean, if we had a gold standard now, if we use gold coins or something, it'd be a disaster because there'd be so much counterfeiting going on. People would be trying all kinds of gimmicks to dilute and pervert the money or turn it into something it wasn't, and so we'd be spending so much money trying to figure out whether we got paid in something that's actually valuable. The waste would be would destroy all value in trading in a real commodity. And as soon as you trade in one commodity, or you have a standard commodity that the money's going to represent, well, then you just make that commodity preposterously expensive. You overvalue it. It can't be used in industry. It can't be used in any other way but as currency, because now you've destroyed its practicality as a ingredient to the economy. And then you also encourage people to go try to dig up money in the ground, because now it's money. They can just directly dig money out of the ground. So that doesn't work. If you want to have a standard, we probably should make the standard the value of, say, 1/10 of an hour of a man's work or something, and call that equal to $1. And say there's no work that no man can do should ever go below that number. And that kind of standard, at least that way all employment would be sort of connected to that minimum that was paid, and all people would have some real appreciation for whether their money is more valuable or less valuable year over year. Okay, but let's look at how it did start. That's how it did start. The history is that it was always about surplus. That's always what money has been. That's always what this thing called capital is. It is surplus. Surplus extracted from the economy, from a thing called productivity. And there's two sources of productivity: labor and innovation. I mean, that's the only two ways. You either have to pay somebody to glean more productivity out of somebody. You either pay them less, or you make them work more hours, or you make them work more efficiently. But that's the way it works. And most innovation, valuable innovation, comes out of the workers. It doesn't come out of the capitalists. And so this love affair with capitalism is the crime. This love affair with excess and ownership.